Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to Transformation Talk. This is my favorite series that we do. It's amazing, and it's all because of the guests we have, and we're going to introduce you to Marquis in a minute, but also my co-hostess with the mostest and the most colorful, flowerful person I know, the one and only Donna Morton Morgan. She's with Inner Vibez Consulting, as she says. You can find that on Facebook, Instagram, all over the place. She is a true transformation person as well. And she also does so much in the community. She's an advocate. She is a realtor broker. She's just everything you could possibly want to have and rolled up all in one amazing person. So welcome to you both. Marquis McKenzie joins us. And of course, Donna is going to tell us a little bit about herself before we get rolling, and then she's going to introduce our special guest today. Welcome, y'all. How you doing?
All right. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining us at Transformation Talk on the TED Show. My name is Donna Morton Morgan, and I am a real estate broker. I am a spiritual development coach, mindset coach. We got to get the mindset right for everything. It flows into everything else. It flows into our love life, our health, our wealth, our happiness. So we got to get that mindset right. I'm the CEO of Florida of Women of Culture Incorporated of Caribbean American Diaspora Alliance, where we are global advocates, supporting communities around the world. We are doing a back to school drive. If you want to help us to support schools in the Caribbean and in Africa. So Transformation Talk is all about the transformation from, could be health, could be poverty, it could be incarceration, it could be addiction. It could be so many things that each of us are going through and are being challenged with. And so when we hear the stories of others, how they did it and what tools do they use, it inspires. And then to think about, they went through that transformation and now they turn their lives around to help others. It's the most amazing thing that you want to be a part of. So with that, we welcome Mr. Marquis McKenzie with Florida Rights Restoration Coalition to blow your mind for this forum that we have today. Welcome, Marquis.
Hey, Donna and Ted, thank you guys for having me on the show today. I think it's very transformational that we're having a conversation about transformation, right? And when we talk about transformation, the first thing I think of is transfer, right? How do you transfer a lot of that pain and challenges that not only that you went through to get you to the other side, but also being able to transfer that same energy to someone else? Because we know that, there's many people that's maybe facing more difficulties as us or even more if it's us. So I'm excited to be here, share my story, what I went through, and what I'm continuing to do to stay on the other side and stay balanced in life.
Well, and that's what we want to hear. I mean, I'm excited. I read a little bit of your bio, and of course, did my own little research. You definitely have a transformational story to share. So, Marquis, without further ado, give us the 411. Give us your background. You all are going to be, just like Donna said, inspired, motivated, and certainly in awe of how far you've come and where you're at.
Yep. So Ted, I always start my story off by saying that I grew up in a two-parent household. It was a split household, but I have both of my parents. And the reason why I say that is that when they say that a child that have both parents, this child supposed to be the successful child as ever, right? But my story is a little different. With having two parents, I still end up found myself at the age of 15 being charged as an adult and sent to prison for my very first offense. And my mom was a correctional officer, right? And I thought at the age of 15 that I had life all figured out. I gave up, and I wanted to do my own things, but I didn't know in the state of Florida, if you commit a crime that's serious enough as a juvenile, they can take you out of the juvenile system and charge you as an adult. So here I was, 15 years old. I lost all of my rights before I even had them, right? And didn't even get to graduate, right? And walk across the stage. I had to wear a cap and gown that many other inmates that I call brothers and sisters had to wear, right? So when life hit me, I realized that, I wasn't going to be incarcerated for the rest of my life. And I needed to change the way that I think before I got released back to society. So throughout those times, I was sentenced to a youth offender plea. At the time, I was facing 10 years in prison, and the judge gave me grace and sentenced me as a youth offender. And what that means is, in the state of Florida, if you receive a youth offender plea, the sentence cannot go past 6 years. So I had a 6 year sentence, which I served 2 years inside the DOC, and then I had 4 years on probation, which 2 of those years was terminated because of good behavior. But I spent a lot of my time in prison just trying to find out who I am, what are the things that I can possibly do. But again, not knowing the state that I live in, when I came home, I thought that whatever happened, I committed my time, did what I had to do, that I would be a regular, productive citizen. And I found myself with many doors being closed in my face. I came home from prison the same year that I was supposed to graduate from high school. So I was depressed because I was going to be looked upon my peers that, this guy is a menace. We just walked the stage. He just walked out of the Florida Department of Corrections. But nevertheless, I tried to stay positive, and I applied my corrective thinking. And I tried to go to college. But after a while, I found that I wasn't being able to be accepted in many programs, again, because of my background. And then so I had no choice. I actually started to work. And, I proven myself through my leadership and my character that I was worthy enough to receive a promotion. But yet again, because I had a felony conviction on my background, I wasn't able to take advantage of that promotion. So I just gave up. It was like, you know what? Let me just go back to what I said I was going to do. And one of the things that was, when I was in prison, I came up that I wanted to start a business. And so, funny fact about my cleaning business, I was at a camp, what was considered as a gladiator camp, and it was a lot of youth just running wild. So they stripped us of all of our rights. We couldn't go to canteen, we couldn't go to rec, we couldn't get visitation. And they said the only way that you guys can earn some of this stuff back is you have to clean. And I don't think it was just odd that I was the houseman. I think it was God divine, and I think I was humble enough to really pay attention to what God was trying to show me. So by me being a houseman, I had to be the one that was cleaning the dorm, make sure it was clean. And for 6 months straight, my dorm would come in first place because of the cleaning. So I was like, you know what? When I come home, I might as well start a cleaning business. But I didn't do that because reality hit me. And it wasn't until 2015, after a lot of doors kept closing in my face, that I decided to go to be an entrepreneur. And what I found that was the first application that I filled out that didn't ask me about my background. And so entrepreneurship has created a lot of freedom for me as a formerly incarcerated person. In the midst of that time of me starting the business, I came across our executive director, Desmond Meade. For the listeners who are not sure what Florida Rights Restoration Coalition, we're a nonpartisan organization that basically advocate on the behalf of the formerly incarcerated or justice impacted individuals. And in 2018, we was able to get Amendment 4 passed. Amendment 4 was the amendment that changed the Constitution that ended a 150-year lifetime ban on voting rights for formerly incarcerated or anyone with a felony conviction. And that number was about 1.4 million people in the state of Florida who was banned from voting for the rest of their life. And so we was able to get that overturned. And that's when I started to get more involved into justice impacted activities and to continue to advocate for formerly incarcerated people. So here I am today, serving as the organizing director, where I oversee all of our ground efforts across the state of Florida. Also running a nonprofit where I basically teach entrepreneurship to at-risk youth or incarcerated individuals. And then running my cleaning business, which is Dirt Master. So that was kind of a nutshell of been through and where I'm at now, and definitely I'm open to all questions. Not shy about my past, and I'm very familiar with it, and I'm very comfortable with my story and who I am and what I had to go through to get where I'm at today.
Incredible. So, Marquis, you were 15 and just being a teenager. And, like you said, you didn't realize that your actions, could be, we figure, oh, I'm not 18 yet, so I could do whatever and not really get too much, a little slap on the wrist. But you found out that in this state, things are a little different.
Yep.
And I know that's part of what you advocate. And, you had to go through that. And now you can come out and then teach others that hey, this is not the time to play around. You think you're gonna just be in juvie, but this can happen to you. This long-term effect can happen to your high school days, your graduation, prom. All these things can be stripped from you. And it's amazing how we have to, when we go through the pain, right, Ted? We go through the pain, and it's like the pain, it's painful, but it serves a purpose. At least when you can make it be purposeful, and you look back at it now, and you look back at even the cleaning, and while you were in jail, while you were locked up, you developed that habit, which then led you. Isn't it crazy how when we look back at life, because nobody wants to go through the process.
Yep,
that's true. Marquis, I'm fascinated because knowing the recidivism rate once a juvenile hits, once they hit the system, is just so incredibly high. What was it for you? Was it a faith move? Did you realize early on that there was absolutely no way you were going to be a statistic? What was the factor that got you through? Because I guarantee you that there are kids who have gone through what you've gone through and are still in jail as adults and still continue to repeat any kind of behavior. What was it in you? Was it intrinsic? Was it faith? How were you able to make it out and make it through?
Yeah, definitely a great question, Ted. And I grew up in a faith-based home, so I always had faith. But I think the biggest factor of my success and who I am today, and I always stress this factor on many families, was my family support. Right. I can't recall a moment where my family, drilled me in on why I did what I did. Right. They questioned, the conversations we always had was like, that was the past, saying, you made this bed, you got to lay in it. Right. They held me accountable, but at the same time, they was there to support me while they held me accountable. And I think that was the biggest support. Anyone who's just as impacted, right, having family members, because not only the person who is serving the time is doing time, the family is always doing time as well. And it's, the biggest success is going to be how the family and that person who's actually serving that time is bonding through the midst of that time, and how successful they can be when they're out.
And I think that you've taken, and kudos for that too. I mean, what a blessing. I think you've taken that, and now you're mentoring and teaching and counseling and all of the things rolled up into one to either help youth avoid it, help people figure out how to get through it. So what's that like? Talk a little bit about it, because I think people who haven't experienced don't understand. It is a great struggle once you're in to figure out how once you're in that gang, or you've been caught, or you've been, whatever the scenario is, to break free. So you're helping people deal with that. You're helping families. Talk a little bit about that process.
Yeah, throughout this movement, Ted, one of the biggest things that I discover, and not just me and my coworkers, or many people that's in this space, and it's something that we're doing now, is, when you're dealing with formerly incarcerated or justice impacted individuals, that healing piece is the very first thing that we can actually and should be going after with making someone whole. And once we did that, once we realized someone being able to recognize what they've been, their pain that caused them the trauma, once they know how to address that, then we can talk about how they can move to a purpose and really build in power. And so that's what we do here. We try to practice on that healing before we want to bring someone in and teach them how to advocate for different things. But let's address the issues and the pain that then you can turn around and use that to transform your communities. Right. I remember a time me going out in the community before Amendment 4 was even passed. And to me, it was only because I was comfortable with, and I learned how to, critique and feel good about my story, that led many people to go to the polls and vote on my behalf about Amendment 4, right? Because, I opened up with sharing my story. Hey, when I was 15, I made a mistake. I ended up going to prison. And throughout that process, Ted, I don't never recall anyone telling me, get out my face, I'm not signing that petition. I only heard people say, you know what, you deserve a second chance. My son is incarcerated, or my husband is incarcerated. And what I found out, that there's many people in Florida, right? I'm not even going to say what I found out, from what the number shows, that you have 6 million people in Florida with records, right? So not just, that's a huge number, right? How many people whose families are impacted by that? So dealing with that healing and showing people how to, normalize formalize what that healing is and how to transfer it to power is the first thing. And it makes us be able to advocate on a different type level once we share that story. And I recently broke down the word story, and what story stands for me is shared trauma often restores you. So when you learn to share that, what you've been through, and transfer that, it's very transformational. And so that's what we do here. We have fun with it, and at the same time, we just really enjoy like letting other people know that what you've done in your past does not determine your future. And once someone realizes that, it opens up a huge playing platform for them to be a successful citizen.
Amazing. Marquise, you talked about the two parent household. Um, did you experience some kind of trauma without being too personal, or were you just being the typical teenage boy just getting into, because I can imagine your mom as a correctional officer. It's kind of like, how the pastor's kids get in trouble more. So I can imagine the heartbreak that she felt, and now how blessed she feels to see the correction, and hopefully understanding that you had a path, you had a purpose in life. What was it? What was going on with your mindset then versus now?
So to be honest with you, now I don't. I can't even recall having like any hardships growing up. Right, my mom, my dad. I think we was one of the kids that was in the neighborhood that was fortunate or be above a lot of kids because we almost got everything that we needed, and we didn't get everything we wanted, but majority of the stuff we wanted, like my parents made a good lifestyle for me, so it had to be me just being a typical child who was curious, right? And then another thing, just being an African American child, some of the things that we're only exposed to is sports, right? So once I realized, well, I wasn't going to the NBA, and I actually played on the high school football and basketball team before I actually went to prison. But it just seemed like sports was the only outlet. I wasn't like my family didn't do a good job, or maybe they wasn't prone to know what other options out there that we could do besides go to work or do sports. And I think my options was limited to me, and I didn't really know how to go outside of that or think outside of the box to apply something else to my life. And so that's why I just started to make poor decisions.
I'm curious about the. I'm first of all, it's just such a blessing. I'm quiet because I'm just in awe, Marquise, to be honest, and that's why I love this show, because you sharing that, the amount of people who have gone through what you've gone through and continue to be challenged, even with Amendment 4 and even with rights being restored. Talk a little bit about the employer side, because my work in the community has shown me that employers are still very hesitant to accept people who have a felony background, regardless of what that felony is or the history behind it. Is there a movement to try to change that? How do you all help, or do you help out people who are struggling with that?
Yeah, definitely. Talking about the employment, I definitely have to do my due diligence and give a huge shout out to Chase, right? Because Chase is a huge corporation, right? And for Chase to actually take on some of these second chance practices, it puts an opportunity for other corporations to look and say, hey, if Chase is doing it, which is a bank corporation, why can't we do it as well? So Chase has took a huge step on trying to fill some of these gaps or close some of these gaps when it comes down to providing second chance employment. It's still a challenge, right? But what I would say, when we've seen COVID, a lot of business start to shut down, a lot of business start going in different directions, but at the same time, a lot of business wanted to go afloat. And you see a lot of people, the government, came in, stepped up and helped a lot of people, where some people didn't even want to go back to work. So a lot of these businesses was kind of forced to say, I can shut down or I can keep going. And that kind of opened up the doors for people to actually start to look at formerly incarcerated people and give them opportunity. Also, when we talk about this conversation, I also say that, people who were formerly incarcerated or just as impacted, you also have to look at, okay, I did make a mistake, and that it may not be easy for me to go into every job that I want, but I always tell people that you have to start somewhere. And once you start somewhere, that can open up an opportunity for you to grow and grow. But the employment space here in Florida has been kind of opening up. We are having conversations with a lot of different employees, a lot of commerce organizations. And it's just been a unique conversations, and some companies are being flexible and open up those doors. And so that's why we're trying to encrypt formerly incarcerated people with to learn as much as they could to get whatever trade they could, so you can be able to take on some of these opportunities. But there are some good jobs out there. People just have to be willing to apply it to their life.
Yes. Well, so I know Marquis also from, we are a part of the Central Florida Reentry Network, and providing resources is critical, like Marquis said, because when you come out, first of all, housing is needed, behavioral health support. If you're a woman, sometimes you need childcare. You need just the basics. Sometimes you're not fortunate to have family, right? Sometimes the family is like, no, we don't want anything to do with you. So then, you come out, you've got all these rules, you probably have probation fees and all these things. It's so much. And Marquis, what did you throw yourself in church? Did you just, the family just wrapped their arms around you? What kind of gave you that just, tilt to just stay strong?
Yeah, it was definitely one, not want to go back to what I just experienced. Being told when I got to eat, when I can go to sleep, when I can't go to sleep. That was my number one motivation, right? When you're incarcerated, right? I laid next to many guys, right, who had lost a loved one and they couldn't even, go to the funeral. So a lot of that stuff, it was stuck with me, and I just didn't want to go back to that. So that was the first thing. And then again, my family just embracing me. And then the third thing, me really having a plan. And a lot of people do time and they just go in there and don't really think of nothing, but that time do fly. And if you don't apply yourself, you'll find yourself right back in those situations. I always use the coming out of prison metaphor as getting on a treadmill, right? If you get on a treadmill that's moving and you don't go to that pace, you could easily fall off of it, right? So, coming out of prison, life is a treadmill and it's been rolling. And so you have to be prepared to get on that treadmill. And once you get on there, you can adjust that speed. But if you're not even fit to even get on there, you're never going to be able to adjust that speed in life. So I had to run with what was presented to me, and then I adjusted the speed and ran that race to my satisfaction, but just didn't procrastinate.
You just have such a gracious, a grateful spirit about you. And I that's just such a blessing. And I want other people to be able to bless you. Before we wrap up, how can people get involved? Do you have volunteer opportunities? Do you have business expos or job expos? How can people who really want to see this movement move forward get involved with you all?
Yeah, so you definitely can visit Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. Our website is floridarrc.com. And then we have different opportunities where people can sign up as a member. They can sign up and be a volunteer. We have multiple chapters across the state. We're always looking for people to share their stories, to share their experience, because this fight is going to continue to grow, and we want to make sure that we're equipped. And the biggest thing that we're doing is just making sure that we can educate all of our family, friends, and loved ones about what's going on within this space and how they can be more involved and educated to make the right decisions.
It's amazing. Absolutely
Marquis,
amazing.
You also mentioned a business. So you do have a cleaning service now?
Yep. So we're at the Dirt Master, which is again
I love that name, by the way. That's awesome.
Yeah, the Dirt Master. We've been running the business now for about 8 years. Our 10-year will be in 2025, and we're looking to possibly, start a franchise to be able to open a franchise model out. And what we're looking to do uniquely is just have a franchise of cleaning business across the world, and offer only franchise opportunity to formerly incarcerated people that want to get into the janitorial space and start a business. We feel that we built a good enough brand. There's a lot of people that do get into the cleaning business, but they just don't have that platform. So we want to be a company that someone that wants to get into it, show them how to grow it and really expand our efforts. So that's what we're looking to do in 2025, start a first franchise with the business.
Amazing. Oh, you're muted, Ted. Amazing how you transformed your life, and then now look at how you're reaching back. You're reaching back to
hand up. I love it. All right. So Donna, tell them before we head out, what's the best way for them to reach you and learn more about you, Donna Morton Morgan?
Sure. You can reach me at Facebook and IG at Inner Vibez with Z Consulting, 407-810-6520. We are planning also a second chance re-entry resource fair on September 16. We're still in the planning workshop. Marquis, we're also planning on August 26th to do a second chance Speak Life workshop. I've got to get with you with that. We need to continue the empowerment when these individuals, when returning citizens come home, they're not always welcome. And so if we can and look at this proof,
That's
having
right. Look at it.
support, having the love, having forgiveness, having opportunities, it matters.
Yep.
It matters. Marquis, what a beautiful story. I think it's amazing what you're doing. You took a crazy, could have been a really horrible situation and did not repeat it and changed your life and continue to change other people's lives. What a blessing you are. Marquis McKenzie, what an honor to have you on Transformation Talk. You can go to Florida RRC. I have it as .org, but it could be .com. We'll get you to the right place. I'd love for you all to get involved. And all my realtor friends, all my real estate friends out there, the Dirt Master, I want you to give Marquis an opportunity, talk to him about it. I love a success story like yours, and I see that you continue to pour your heart and soul into other people. What a blessing. You are, Donna, you are too. We appreciate you all. If you have been transformed or know someone who's been transformed and continues to pour back into other people so they too can be transformed, please reach out to us. We'd love to have you on the show. Thank you, guys. Another amazing episode of Transformation Talk. Thank you, Marquis. Thank you, Donna. God bless you both, and God bless you all, everyone. We'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.